To open a data set in R, you go above the environment window to this button import data set. And in this class, we're always going to be using CSV files. So you're going to want to use from text. And I prefer the read R version because it seems more stable. You might have to install something the first time you use this, but after that, it should be fine. So we click on that, browse to find the data set. And I'm going to load this loan 50. And it's going to show me a preview of my data and all the variables in it. So I have the state variable, which it says is a character because it's made up of letters. Double is a type of number. So anything that's it looks like everything that's a number is stored as a double. So we have home ownership, income, annual income, debt to income, etc. And this is a data set of people's loans. So to import this, I'm going to go down here to import and just click import. And it shows up in a window over here, and I can kind of tab back and forth if I want to, or I can just close this one if I don't want to look at it. But it's nice to know what the names of the variables are. And you can see in the environment window over here, we have the Loan 50 data set loaded up. So to access variables in your data set, you're going to use the $sign. So if I type loan 50 $sign, you can see a bunch of a pop-up comes up. It shows me all the different variable names I can look at. So if I wanted to look at maybe annual income, I could hit Control Enter, and down here in the console, it's going to tell me all of the annual incomes. I might want to find the mean annual income, so I could do this dollar annual income, Control Enter, and that tells me that the mean is 86,170. And another thing I can do is explore the relationships between variables. If I take loan $50, maybe I'll compare annual income to total credit limit. So I'll take the annual income. Now, I would think the annual income would be the explanatory variable here, and credit limit would be the response, because annual income is more likely to be the cause of a high credit limit than vice versa. So I'm going to want to plot the explanatory variable on the x-axis and the response on the y. The total credit limit. And now Control Enter. And you see it gives me what's called a scatter plot of the two variables, where I have loan 50, the annual income on the x, and the credit limit on the y. Now I would say that these two variables look associated. There definitely seems to be a trend where higher income leads to higher credit limit, although it's not the strongest association you're going to see. Sometimes they're really almost right on a line here. So one thing we might want to do is dress up this plot. Like these labels look kind of ugly. Maybe we want to put a title. So we can go in here and add some arguments. And I'll say I want the X lab, which stands for X label, to just say annual income. And notice I have that in quotation. And then comma, and now another argument will be the Y lab. And now when it's starting to run off the screen here, you can just keep going if you want to. It'll go as long as you want it to, basically. But it's good practice to just drop down a line after the comma, just hit enter and bring it down another line. In fact, we can maybe bring this down, and this might be easier to read. And as long as, R will be able to figure out that there's nothing here and it needs to go on to the next line. So let's make the Y label say just credit limit, comma, and then finally for the title, to title the graph, you would say main, and then you'll say equals, and I'm just going to call this credit limit versus annual income. And that versus is just a term we have for when you're plotting the y versus, you plot the y versus the x.